Hey guys, it's Adam from the Dimensional Gamer Squad here, bringing you with the last episode of this recording session. That's very tiring, and hopefully this one can be a bit more detailed with the fights. This is Battle of the Beast, episode 9. And this is, hopefully an interesting battle. Sepron the Sea Serpent versus Voltrex the Two-Headed Octopus. Right, so we got a serpent versus an octopus. So that's all right. Yeah, we kind of saw. We didn't exactly see it, but we kind of did see the fight of these two in Voltrex. And we saw a fight similar to it, but I wouldn't say it is. But we saw a fight similar to it in Zephyr as well, where Sepron beaten Zephyr. But Voltrex nearly killed Sepron. So, even though I said this will be an interesting battle, I think it's pretty obvious who the winner's going to be. But luckily, my mind might change things up and go like, yeah, but maybe obvious, but I'm going to make this one win. So, I don't know. Hopefully I can think of something to give both of them an advantage. It's obvious where the fight's going to take place. So obviously it'll take place in the Western Ocean, Sepron's homeland, and where Tom has encountered Voltrex. This fight will take place nowhere near the beach, because that is how Voltrex nearly killed Sepron, by beaching him. So it will take place deep underwater. Very deep underwater. Roughly, I like to say maybe 20... I don't know. A good 20 miles away from Avantia. Still in the Western Ocean, though. At a rather deep area. Where the Gorgon Voyager was. There we are, where the Gorgon Voyager was. There we are, that's actually a really good place to have the battle. The fight would be at the Gorgon Voyager, very far away from the coast and, well, somewhere where Voltrex can't beach the beast. So, the strengths that both of them have. Sepron, incredibly agile, definitely has a size and agility advantage. Sharp teeth and can coil around his opponents and constricts the life out of them. Voltrex, not as fast, not as big, but can use each of his tentacles as whips and each have thorns on. So this is going to be a very deadly whip. A whip! Yeah. And the beak Voltrex has is strong enough to crush rocks. And last time I checked, I'm pretty sure rocks are more powerful than scales. I don't know if it can crush through bone, but let's see if that actually matters with this fight. Voltrex also has 2 heads, and as I said with Trillion, the more heads you have, the more brains you have. So Voltrex, thank you Lucas, has the mind advantage. So honestly I won't be surprised if that goes off again, but I'm not having to go at you Lucas. I did just finish talking to you before I did this recording. I should have thought this through. Yeah, so let's get into this fight. Close your eyes and imagine the Western Ocean. Let me weave you a tale of the next fight in the Western Ocean. Last fight in the Western Ocean was Naga versus Spikefin. And that was 6 episodes ago. Let's go back there. I want to visit it again. Yay! We're revisiting places. So, Voltrex. Oh god. Okay. Sepron is surveying his homeland because he senses a trespasser, being Voltrex, but he doesn't see any signs of him until he sees the Gorgon Voyager with Voltrex lurking around there. Voltrex notices Sepron, and Sepron coils down in a little spiral formation, charging straight at Voltrex to whip him with Sepron. Well, so Sepron can whip Voltrex with his tail. Voltrex saw this coming and gets the majority of his tentacles, let's say 6, and flings them at Sepron to try and grab hold of Sepron, but they all miss, but they all scrape into Sepron's scales, peeling off some of his scales and cutting. Oh man, I don't want to say this because I like them. And cutting off his seaweed hair, and also blinding him in one of his eyes. Sepron stops with the spiraling and lifts up to go straight towards the surface of the water, whipping Voltrex with his tail in the process, knocking Voltrex backwards into the Voyager. And he goes straight after Voltrex, and he goes straight after Sepron. Sepron gets up onto the surface, leaps out of the water, and does nosedive straight back into the water, giving himself a more gravity pull advantage to go straight down into Voltrex. Voltrex is still making his way up, trying to get Sepron. And Voltrex catches Sepron when he's on his descent with his beak, catching Sepron on his mouth. So Voltrex bites down with his beak, causing severe pain to Sepron, and digging his beak through the bone to connect to each other, biting, making a hole in the top of Sepron's snout and the bottom, going straight through his tongue. Voltrex then gets the rest of his tentacles and goes round the neck of Sepron and starts constricting it as much as they can, digging his spikes into Sepron. Sepron, luckily still having the rest of his body, then gets his tail and starts whipping at Voltrex, and one of the whips hits Voltrex straight into one of his eyes, causing all of him to recoil back in pain and agony, for Sepron to get away, whipping him one last time in another eye. Sepron turns round and, ignoring the pain that he has, bites at a solid 4 of Voltrex's tentacles, yanks on them, and bites them clean off. Voltrex now has 4 tentacles, 2 working eyes, and a very tough beak. Sepron lost all his hair, most of his scales, and has one of his eyes, along with a little breathing hole for his mouth. Oh, that is bad, Adam. Sorry. Okay. Voltrex, obviously in agony now, starts using his remaining tentacles as whips to attack Sepron. Sepron skillfully dodges all of them, some of them grazing him, but Sepron opens his mouth wide as wide as he can and chomps down on one of Voltrex's head. Bottom parts of the mouth going over one eye of one of the heads. So let's say this head. So kind of like bottom of the mouth here, top of the mouth here. Bites down, twists round, and pulls the head clean off. And Sepron munches down on that head, eating that head completely. So now Voltrex is half of a 2-headed octopus. It's now a 1-headed octopus with 4 tentacles and a beak. Okay. So, oh my god, this is grim. Voltrex somehow still alive. Recoils back in pain. Swims back down to the Gorgon Voyager to try and rest as much as he can. Sepron swims down, obviously enraged, with his beautiful, luxurious hair being cut off and a majority of his scales and being blinded by one eye. And goes straight for the Voyager and starts whipping at it with his tail and it crumbles down, crushing the one remaining Voltrex head, crushing Voltrex. Voltrex survived this by lifting up his beak and chomping on some of the woods that came down and using his remaining tentacles to protect his eyes so he won't go blind. Or as blind as he may be. So he's perfectly fine at the moment. He used his tentacles to lift up the remaining wooden planks to send them going everywhere. Luckily, it's not above the ocean, so it's not going very fast. And he gets one of his tentacles, uses it as a lasso to throw itself at Sepron, wraps round Sepron's mid area, and he starts pulling Sepron down towards the ocean floor, where Voltrex gets his remaining tentacles and gets round different areas of that midsection, and starts pulling on it as much as he can, with 2 going towards him and 2 going away from him. Kind of like a Chinese burn, but worse. Voltrex gets his tail and starts whipping at the Voltrex head, but Voltrex doesn't give in and keeps pulling. So Sepron gets his uses his mouth, turns round with his neck, and bites down on 2 of the tentacles which are pulling, and on the 2 tentacles that are pulling towards Voltrex, and gets them clean off. So Sepron, just ignoring the pain that the tentacles are digging into him, he swims away, causing Voltrex had to let go. Otherwise he'll be pulled along and it'll be like he's windsurfing, I think it is. I don't know. Voltrex now has 2 tentacles, 1 head and a beak. Sepron is severely damaged with so many holes in his body completely. Sepron goes back down for one more swoop to try and finish off Voltrex completely. Voltrex uses his 2 remaining tentacles to slash at Sepron, kind of like the whip that I described that Arax was using in that special, and like Sultra does in her book, to try and slash at Sepron to hopefully knock him off course. It succeeds and also blinds Sepron completely now. Sepron is now completely clueless where he's going, and he just has to follow where the pain is taking him. Voltrex then gets one of his remaining tentacles, wraps it round Sepron's mouth, while Sepron's tail comes around to go for a whip to try and release his mouth. Voltrex gets his other tentacle and wraps it round his tail there, meaning his tentacle can't move. He can't use his mouth. Voltrex has trapped Sepron. Voltrex then pulls Sepron in towards him, gets his beak, and bites down very viciously on the midsection of Sepron, biting him clean in half. Sepron is now now in 2 bits. Oh, I don't want to see another Series 1 Beast die, but unfortunately that is how I see the battle going. Voltrex has cut Sepron in half, and Sepron is now dead. I know what you're going to say, okay, but if you cut off, I don't know, if you cut a snake in half, they just wiggle around for a bit before they die. Yeah, they do. But the key element of what I just said here is before they die. Sepron does wiggle around a bit, but he dies. So Voltrex, despite as battered and bruised as he is, has won. Voltrex, winner. Sepron, loser. Now, I know what you're saying, this is so predictable because of how Voltrex nearly killed Sepron in the book. This is nowhere near to how Voltrex nearly killed Sepron. I described it how I think the fight would go if they stayed underwater completely. Thank you, Lucas. So that's an interruption in this recording. Before the fight and after the fight. You are lucky, Lucas. I'm not having a go at you. That's so hilarious, though. Voltrex has won, as I said. And it was underwater for most of the fight. And only briefly at the top. Above the surface. So it's not the same. And I saw a way that Sepron could have won. But with all the different possibilities it could have ended up with, I went with the one that I liked the most. And which also, I went with the fight. Well, I went with the beast that had the majority amount of wins with all the outcomes I came up with. And then I just described the one I told you, which I think will give the better fight. That being Voltrex. So Voltrex has won, cutting Sepron in half. And even though Voltrex has nearly died, this is the closest battle yet. I have to say this. This is the closest battle. There's no way any of the other fights can be as close as this one was. The first fight was a clean sweep for silver. Second, kind of a close fight. Third, not really. The fourth, not really. Fifth, not really. Sixth, close but no cigar for Doomskull. Seventh, there's no way Nyxa was going to win, honestly. Eighth, Ursus was not going to win and beat an axe. This is the closest fight so far this entire series. And I'm glad. I like both these beasts. Some more than others, but that's not... I wasn't being biased. I swear. This was a tough choice for me. I couldn't really pick... I really couldn't pick a way of how this could have gone. Because with all the outcomes I came up with, this is like maybe 5 or 4? 5 or 4. 5 or 4 outcomes I predicted. And 3 of them, or 3 or 2, Voltrex won. 1 or 2, Sepron won. So, Voltrex won the majority out of them. Sepron, I love you, but unfortunately you're not going to be the Series 1 beast to make it through. I hope there's a Series 1 beast I'll make it through. Unfortunately, if we find out the next battle... Oh, God. We have Vipera the Snake Man versus Nanook the Snow Monster. And this is going to be a tough battle for me to decide the area for. Because one's a desert beast, one's a icy plains beast. I will need some help with this one of what to do here. Because I don't know what to do anymore now. So, okay, more of the story. Voltrex won, Sepron lost. I'm sorry if you disagree. Please feel free to leave in the comments below how you think this fight will go out. Please suggest an area where you think this fight should take place. For the next fight, Vipera versus Nanook. Don't miss it. Because this will be interesting. And one last thing. The next video after this one may be a Battle of the Beasts. But it may be a Series 2 Doctor Who review. Or it may be Series 17 Beast review. Because I'm nearing the end of Series 17 as we speak. And I'm already ready for Series 2. But I'd like to get that uploaded next... for the time I'm recording this is the 12th of June. Next week. Sometime next week. That's when I want to upload that. But I need to upload these ones before that. So anyway, that is all for this time. If you liked what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, definitely subscribe. This is all recorded in one session. My voice is actually dying right now. So I'll see you next time.